I want to pick like menus and I suck.
Yeah, and
I'm just gonna score that. It's honestly like some days like really great, some days like some other things I'm
Yeah.
losing with like positive points. It's impossible. Yes.
Senior year like space.
Yeah.
So like,
Someone doing happy, you're happy.
you have to be loud.
I am loud.
Playing at that like.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with our first meeting of the year. Today we have Drew, who will be speaking about broadcast meteorology. But first I want to, have all of the board members introduce ourselves. Some of you in here may be new. And so my name is Landon Moeller. I'm the president of AMS this year, and I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Lexi. I'm your Vice President of External Affairs. I am also a senior this year.
I'm Joey. I'm the Vice President of AMS this year, and I'm also a senior.
I am Paul. I am the treasurer, also a senior.
I'm Lindsay. I'm the event coordinator, and I'm a junior.
All right, junior. All right.
All of you know.
I'm Daniel. I'm also a senior, and I'm the director of NIU's Weather Center.
Awesome, thank you guys. So we're all here for you to, run these events, and these events are designed to be kind of career focused. So we're kind of helping you prepare, get thinking about careers that you might want to focus on in the field of meteorology. And today we're going to be talking about broadcast specifically, which I know Drew is very excited about. First of all, we have a few announcements. We want to make you aware of a few events that we have coming up. So, Joey.
Next Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Met Lab and this room, we'll be having game night, lots of board games, there'll be snacks as well. And so I appreciate it when you guys show up. It was a great turnout last year and we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a really fun social event. So please do come to that.
And then for me, we have our t-shirts. The orders for those are due tomorrow. There I have QR codes scattered everywhere, and there's one on the board also. So yeah, if you haven't gotten yours ordered, please do that by tomorrow. And then on the sign-in, we also included a question about survey interest, or not survey interest, sorry, calendar interest. And that would just kind of be another fundraiser that we're thinking about doing to help support our scholarships and speakers. And yeah, other than that, yeah, finally it's research initiative time. So yeah, now that everybody's kind of settled down into the semester, I'll be starting a research initiative with an informational meeting tomorrow in this room, 4:30.
You also have a Zoom option for that.
Yes, we also have a Zoom option, so I'll release that link tomorrow once it comes time.
And then this Saturday, we have STEM Fest that is from 10 through 3. There's going to be a bunch of people on campus. There's going to be a bunch of tables to just look at different stuff that's within the STEM field. But please come out and see us. We're going to be in the library on the first floor. We're going to have the lightning generator. We're going to have the tornado simulator.
Yep.
And I believe Victor is launching a weather balloon. Do you know what time that is?
I do not know, but historically it's been around noon. So if you haven't seen a weather balloon launched in person, definitely come to that. I might ask Victor the exact time and then I can share that through the Discord.
But it's definitely a good time. There's going to be a lot of people there. You should definitely come out and check it out. If anything, just to see us.
And then October 9th, we'll be having our second general meeting with Dr. Cameron Nixon at 5 p.m. and we'll be meeting virtually.
10:30 for the launch. The
10:30?
STEM Fest. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Wow.
That's
Shout
really
out to Evelyn for that.
Thank you.
I won't be here early.
That's all right. Weather Center, in case you're unfamiliar, we do weekly forecasts for the Northern Star. We work together to build a forecast and then someone does a video which gets posted on the Northern Star's YouTube and sent out on an email to campus. So meet up every Monday at 5 p.m. for that. So.
Yeah, you don't even have to be interested in broadcast meteorology. You can just come for the forecasting aspect. Working in teams, it's good experience working with the weather models. I know some of you are new to them, so that we kind of work through that.
Definitely peer led.
Yeah, and my roommate Owen is a broadcast meteorologist up in Rockford, and he used that green screen to kind of get some practice and showed the TV station, and he got hired like a month or two after he graduated, so it's definitely a great resource. So with that, let me mention how this is going to work. So there is no visual presentation for this. It's kind of going to be a Q&A style, but Drew's going to start off with some stories about his career and his time after NIU. I also have a Zoom open here, and we have an NIU alum in Las Vegas right now. He is a broadcast meteorologist, Matt, and see, we also have Hayden on here. Hayden is a high school student I invited, so he joined some of our meetings last year. So there'll be, if there's any questions from online, I'll be up here kind of monitoring. And then Matt, if you want to jump in on any questions, feel free to. Would absolutely love a good discussion on broadcast meteorology. But with that, I'll introduce Drew. So he graduated from NIU in 2001. He went to Northwest Arkansas for a position in broadcast meteorology, and this is his 23rd year in the industry. And now he's been with CBS 58 in Milwaukee for 10 years. So he's the chief meteorologist there.
All right. Thank you guys. No pressure kicking off. I love NIU, and I have wonderful memories. I speak very highly of it. One of my passions is going out and seeing a lot of students. So I have a severe weather program that I do each year. I usually get to about 40 schools and see anywhere from about 7,000 to 8,000 kids.
That's awesome.
I bring liquid nitrogen, elephant toothpaste. We blow a bunch of crap up, and a lot of great severe weather videos. Just because the passion is there. How many of you here got interested in weather, like a real good interest, let's say in elementary school? So a lot of us did. For me, taking you back, it was 4th grade. So just a little background on me. 23 years in the business. I was born in Green Bay. See the bear shirt over there. We can talk later.
Isn't Matt a Bears fan?
Matt isn't. Yeah, he's a very diehard Bears fan, and I respect that. Doesn't have much to say, but yes. So I know Matt. Matt is I know Matt now for years, and he is another wonderful reference and people to reach out to. Before I go into all of that, one of the most important things about having alumni here is that we're accessible. You can call us, you can email us. One of the things I would love somebody here to champion would be to come up with a really, really good alumni, some sort of directory, but not a directory, something that's more interactive, that's a resource for you to reach out to people in all different fields, whether it's the insurance industry, that type of deal, or if it's broadcast, or if it's, National Weather Service or whatever. There's all kinds of different avenues. It would be great for you from a competitive edge to be able to reach out and say, hey, can I come shadow? Or, what is your job? Because you may go, it's not what I want to do, which is okay. But I got my interest in meteorology in the 4th grade. And hey, stop talking to me. You're old. So I saw this PBS special called Tornado. And some of you may have known this. This is old school. This is OG stuff,
I
right?
remember that one. I remember that.
Yeah. This is when storm chasing kind of was in its infancy in the late 70s and 80s. And for those of you now, I think I was a senior in high school when Twister came out. Again, I'm dating myself. The gray hair will do it too. But but it was based off, you know, where you saw Dorothy and Twister. I mean, that's where it all came from. I mean, these researchers essentially were getting out of a pickup truck. It's lightning, it's crazy, and their job was to take this metal drum in lightning, real smart, and take this thing and put it right in, you know, in front of a tornado. What could go wrong, right? But that's I mean, back in the day, you know, these guys were going out and they had to pick up a payphone. You ever heard of a payphone before? You know, and they picked up a payphone and had to call the radar operator, guy by the name of Don Burgess, you know, who was at, you know, kind of the central command, and that's how it was. And the hook of that for me, and I was in Chicago at this point, so for all intents and purposes, I grew up in Naperville. Not in Chicago, I grew up in the suburbs, you know, I didn't grow up in Chicago. But I watched that, and they focused on the 1984 Barneville, Wisconsin F5 tornado. So as a Wisconsinite, that is like one of the benchmark tornadoes. Killed a lot of people. Again, there wasn't a warning on it, middle of the night. Crazy story about it. There was a lightning bolt that had hit so close that the thunder was so loud, you know, talk about, you know, an act of God. It woke people up and they went to their basements because it would have been a lot worse. But I saw that and I don't know, I watched it over and over and over again. I actually watched it recently. It was great going back over. And I don't know what it was. I just thought there was something about this weather or severe weather that just interests me. And I'm sure there's a lot of you nodding and going, yeah, true, I had that experience myself. I remember doing a speech in 8th grade on, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I picked broadcast meteorology. So I've been very blessed to know what I've wanted to do for a very long time. Didn't make it easy, but I was very fortunate. And I lived in Naperville when the Plainfield tornado hit in 1990. Okay.
Yep,
Were
my
you
mom
the-
was living in Plainfield. It
So-
jumped over her house, my grandparents' house.
So, you know, I remember, you know, as a young, you know, a young boy, I mean, looking out, you know, at that pitch black, you know, sky. And so, you know, these are moments, you know, you guys probably have your own, you know, weather moments that you will always kind of go back to, right? You know, and sometimes when the passion wanes a little bit, you go back and think about those things because it kind of, you know, rekindles the fire. I picked NIU because I lived on campus, but I liked the Northern Television Center, and I'm going to speak very fondly about that. I got to meet with some of you. I get to play around on the wall. You probably heard me, you know, talking like, what's this guy? You know, but I love what's going on here. But we have the Northern Television Center, so we were doing broadcasts, we were doing newscasts that were going on the local cable. That's a big deal. Now, if you go to the University of Missouri, at Mizzou, my sister went there to do broadcast television. They have the NBC affiliate is part of the university. So these young adults literally get first world experience, you know, there. But you know what? We didn't have that, but we had our own thing. And when that closed down several years ago, I mean, it's not hyperbole. I mean, it was like someone stabbed me in the heart. I mean, it was a place, I wouldn't be where I am right now without NTC and Northern. Some of you have heard the name Dr. Dave Shagnon before. So Dr. C is a very close friend of mine, a dear friend. My wife and I vacation. He hosted us out at their house in Colorado. I mean, we're very close, but he was an amazing mentor. And one of the things I want to talk to you about tonight, and I don't care what business part of whether you go into, mentorship is so important. It is so important to set you on a successful route. And so I was here 4.5 years, and then it was time to fly. And so in TV, you know, you're not just running into Chicago or New York or LA and being like, hire me, right? You know, yeah, you can clean the floor, that's fine, right? Like, you're not going on television. And so the reality is you go somewhere small, a smaller market, to make mistakes. It's part of it. You go to learn to make mistakes because you can still keep a job, you know? The newsroom is younger, you can relate. And then, you know, and then you can move up. So I signed on to do a 2-year stint on the weekends at the ABC affiliate in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Now, let me be totally honest with you. I had no idea. I mean, you would think as a meteorology major, I would have some semblance of geography. I looked on the freaking map and was like, oh, wow, it's like, you know, almost like due south of here. I mean, I had no idea where I was going, but I thought, okay, here's an adventure and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for 2 years. I'm going to sign on for 2 years. I'm out of here. Did weekends for a year and then was able to get promoted to mornings after that. I'm going to really date myself right now. The morning show back then started at 6 a.m. That's how old, you know, things were. Now it's like 4:30. It's stupid, right? It's so early. And I remember when the news director came up to me and said, "We're gonna actually, you know, move this to 5:30." He goes, "Oh, I can't believe this. I can't do this." You know? I met my wife down there. We started a family, and so I thought I would be in Arkansas for 2 years. Ended up staying for 13. Now, what was cool about that was after the 4 years on the morning show, I moved into the chief role for 8 years. If anyone knows anything about the dry line and severe weather in the Mid-South and Central Plains, it's baptism by fire down there, my friends. And so I learned a ton. But here's where the mentorship comes in. The chief was an old Air Force man. Good, you know, good forecaster, good broadcaster. He saw something in me and he said, "You know, Drew, I want to mentor you." And he was serious about it. And I took him up on it. Now, sometimes when you say yes to things, you don't exactly know what is going to happen, right? That's part of life. But the mentorship was great. My experience here at NIU is a little bit different than yours. Right now, the program is in a really, really good spot. And I'm so happy to hear it. You know, when you have folks like Victor and, you know, who are getting your name out there, that's the name of the game. So let me take you back. Who's in synoptics right now? Synoptic 1 or what's it changed to?
3 semesters.
Oh,
So a lot of people are either in introductory meteorology, so Met 300, which is the basic.
Okay, sure.
Course, or there's a bunch of us that are also in dynamics 1.
yeah, that's great.
So
Bless your hearts. So when the synoptic class was there, we had a brilliant synoptician. Let's go. I'm on TV. And his name was Steve Silverberg. And he taught the intro class. And I remember sitting as a freshman and he goes, "Who are my Met students in here? If any of you get less than an A, I wouldn't even consider, you know, going on, you know, I mean, so little pressure there. We go on. So I'm thinking this is start of junior year for me. Yes, it's been a while. And little did we know behind the scenes that this gentleman was not getting tenure. And he was pissed. And when I mean, "Hey, how are you? Welcome." He was mad. And so it was weird. We started the semester and he just did all this weird review. It's like review. And I was like, "Yo, when are we going into some of this?" And then the day happened. Came in, shut the door, and just F-bomb this, F the university. And we're sitting there like, "Whoa, what?" Mic drop, you know, and he left.
Oh, wow. Oh,
He
my
left.
goodness.
And we just, for all intents and purposes, started the semester. So my experience is a little bit different than yours. So they had to scramble. Dr. C had to scramble. So they actually got I think he's retired now, a guy by the name of Paul Merzerlock, who used to be in the Romeoville office. Wonderful forecaster. I remember there was a big event in Naperville I want to say summer of 96 or 97, we had 17 inches of rain, big MCS. And it just, it didn't stop. It didn't stop. I remember reading this discussion anyways. So they brought a National Weather Service meteorologist in. Again, hey, listen, great guy. He did the best he could, but there are teachers and they're not, right? I mean, that's part of careers, right? How much do I have time-wise? I just want to be respectful.
However you want.
Bar closed tonight.
College because we can't afford that.
Okay, all right. So he came in, it was a Band-Aid. And so, the program at that point, kind of changed. And I remember walking, gosh, I was in front of Cole Hall with my friend Jesse Sparks, who's now, I don't know where he is now, but in meteorology. And we kind of thought, maybe we need to find school. We thought maybe Madison or whatever. And but we decided to stay, and so I say all that because you guys are on a really, really good foundation and solid ground, and that makes me really happy. So I say all this with all the flux. I came out of college, and you know what? I didn't really feel like I could forecast. Fake it till you make it, right? But this Met guy by the name of Charles, like I literally sat next to him, and we went through this program called PC Grids, and we were going through and taught me how to do it. I would do severe weather cut-ins. I would literally get off the air, and the phone would ring in the office. I mean, I can't even catch my breath, and the guy's calling. Hey, Charles. So, it comes, what did you think? I'm like, dude, I literally just got off the air, bumbling and stumbling through a severe weather, thing.
Yeah.
But he took the time to do it. And so I say that to all of you, and Matt knows this too, because I told Matt the same thing. Whatever your first job is, all right? If there's an opportunity there where someone, and maybe it's a little bit less in pay, but someone says, you know what? I can work with you. I want to work with you. I want to help you. I would strongly consider taking that job. Because in the end, the foundation that you get with a good mentorship is going to set you up for success, hopefully financial success too, in whatever you decide to do. So I got the chief role, was there. So I was there for 13 years. Most people, and Matt's moved around, most people in my business move around a lot. We kind of like military in a way, except we get to choose where we go. And I would say probably on average, a lot of people go about 4 or 5 different jobs before they say, this is great, this is home. And there were opportunities, but it never seemed right. It never seemed right. One that I'll share with you, I was interviewing at, Bealo doesn't exist anymore, but a station in New Orleans. I had an uncle who's an eye surgeon at LSU, a glaucoma researcher and surgeon. So I've been down to New Orleans a few times, and I told my wife, and I was like, and I'm a spiritual person, and pray about it. Let's talk about it. What you think? And she's like, no, I'm just not getting the right feeling. Now, remember, I didn't know if she was biased. Not that I was, we just celebrated 20 years yesterday, actually, marriage. But I trust her, and I trust her judgment. She just didn't feel right about it. And I thought, okay, this is a joint thing, Little did we know later on, Katrina hit, and we would have had to move down there after Katrina.
Oh, wow.
Things happen for a reason. I like to think that. And so, we ended up staying longer. I had a really crappy news director. I mean, the incarnate of Satan. And he was awful. He was just awful. He was just an awful person. And you're right, in 13 years, that's a lot to be invested there. And we liked the area. Cost of living was great. And we moved up to the northwest part. So Walmart, JB Hunt, Tyson Food. 3 big time companies, right? Talk about an economic bubble, right? taxes were low, cost of living was really good. I was like, I don't know. My dad lived in Milwaukee. We would come up for Packer games in the fall, and Milwaukee was growing. There was a vibe. It was cool, and a job opened up at CBS there. And I told her. And I remember her mom was there, family, and if you know anyone, if you're from the South, know anyone from the South, you know all the chickadees like to, mom likes to keep all the chickens in the nest. It's part of the culture. It's part of the, and it's endearing. And I knew I would be the bad guy eventually.
Family way.
Yeah.
I still get that every now and then, but we were ready, and so we took the chance, and we ended up moving up to Milwaukee. It was for the chief job, and I've celebrated 10 years there this summer, and it's been wonderful. My wife says she's made some of the most memorable friendships, meaningful friendships there. And I think to myself, you know what? That's a good spot. It's a good spot. My pipe dream always was Chicago. But I found a spot, where I can entertain kids. We do Brewers Weather Day. So since we have a sponsorship with the Brewers, we do like scoreboard weather and stuff. But I get to perform in front of like 8,000 kids on the field and blow up a bunch of stuff and this and that, which is great. That opportunity has allowed me to start just a small consulting business I have one client, a couple small ones, but I've got the Brewers as my client. So if you've ever been to AmFam, we have a roof, and so I'm pretty much on call every ball game to give weather support to the turf manager, the guy that keeps the putting green nice. That's my boss. So and I'm a grass guy, so I get to learn about that. So all these different opportunities came along, but without the experience, without the severe weather experience that I had in Arkansas, covering some really crazy weather. One of the craziest, we had supercells that were lined up along I-40. Big boy hail, killing livestock in fields. It was awful.
Oh, wow.
And this stuff was rolling along over the station, metal roof, right? I'm on severe weather wise, couldn't even hear myself. I'm not exaggerating, couldn't hear myself. The only time in my career, the news director at the time, not Satan, but a different guy, who came up to me live on the air and said, we are moving to the middle of the station. Like, this is too much. Little did I know outside, the parking lot's getting hammered. And I walk outside and I had $13,000 damage to a leased car, that I had. I didn't have kids. I was driving this Cadillac, man. It was big time, right? Thank God the windows, stayed. But, I knew the stuff was hitting the fan because I was covering it. But you don't have time for it, Yes.
Were you there for Bologna?
I was. Bologna was just outside of our area. And what's interesting about Bologna, and really where I was in Fort Smith, you have the Arkansas River that cuts through the state. Well, what happens a lot of times at night on a mesoscale level is the winds will back along the water. So a lot of times storms will be coming at night. I covered all of eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas. So you had Little Rock, the TV, we had our spot, and then Tulsa and Oklahoma City, if that kind of makes sense, geographically. But I covered all the stuff that came from OKC and Tulsa. A lot of times those storms, there was enough velocity, enough spin that they would come close to Fort Smith and they tornado and start to spin up. But Bologna was very close to that. And I often wondered if there was some enhancement due to some backing of the surface winds. But yeah, that was pretty bad. The worst tornado I covered occurred about 1 o'clock in the morning. It's a powerful story. It was about 45 minutes away from Fort Smith. And I'm on the air, and my weekend man at the time, who was giving me radar assistance, a guy by the name of Ross Ellett, Purdue grad, wonderful guy, he's in Toledo. He interrupted, he goes, Drew, and of course we have access to the NWS chat, right? Yeah. Which is great. And one of the spotters or whatever, again, this is, overnight, they were estimating about a mile away. And so you knew it was gonna be a violent night. A week prior to that was Joplin.
Oh, no.
And guys, one of the weirdest phone calls I've ever received in my 20+ years was a woman who called me and said, so Joplin happened. And then we were forecasting, really bad weather. And she called and said, Drew, where in the state can you tell me to go tonight in a hotel where I won't get severe weather? How do you answer that? Right? That's part of the job. I had another woman call, there was a bad ice storm, over an inch of ice. Convective freezing rain. Thunderstorming and freezing rain.
Oh, God.
Temp at 30, 850 millibar temps are warm. It's a classic overrun. It's raining to beat the band and it's freezing rain. This woman calls and I'm hearing cracking. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, can you hear this? I was like, yeah, where are you? These are a bunch of trees on my property and they're falling over. I said, get the hell out of there, man. But what do you get that.
Yeah.
The worst call I ever got, there was some icing, there were some high bridges. The only time I've ever hung up and cussed, truly, I've gotten called everything in the book. I cover up programming, to take people. It's fine. It's part of the business. But there was a woman who called, terrible, just tragic story, where a guy got stuck on one of the big elevated bridges between Fayetteville and Fort Smith. Pretty hills, and the guy got out of his car and it's all icing and a tanker truck started sliding toward this person. And the only thing this person, I just tragically thought they could do was jump off the bridge and, and end their life that way. It just made me sick. So I had a woman call and blame me. I know it's egregious, but if you would have made it a bigger deal and this and that, and blah, 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 and you take it personal. So you get a lot, from people. Back to that tornado that hit mile wide. Next day I go to survey and we're doing live shots. I was doing a live shot from a woman's, front room, like their living room. Roof is gone. It's blue sky. She didn't want to go on camera. She's like, go for it, whatever you want to do. But I want to talk to her. I said, ma'am, how did you get the warning? How did you know? I said, were you watching us on TV? We were asleep. It was her and her two daughters. Her husband happened to be working third shift in Fort Smith. It was, mom taking care of business, like they always do, and the two girls. Was there a tornado siren? Can't hear it. Do you have a weather radio? No. A girlfriend of mine called me up and said, are you watching TV? Oh, we're in bed. The tornado's coming right toward Denning, this town. So she gets the girls up. And they go to the hallway. Remember, there's no basements. There's no basements in the South. The soil is crappy. They don't dig them out. Now, you can dig out a storm shelter for about $5,000. A lot of us don't have $5,000, Times are tough, FEMA used to, when the government had money, they used to pay half. So you could actually get like $2,500. This woman walked me through. They were in the hallway. And so here's the hallway, right? The girls' room is right here. And they decide, like, you know what, let's just get out of there. I'm going to cover up, being mom. I'm going to cover up the girls. She had this overwhelming sense, she told me. Sixth sense, guardian angel, whatever you'd like to consider. That's up to you. To move down the hallway, she felt like she had to move down. she moved down. And shortly after, where the girls' room was, that door blew out and went right through where they originally were. And then, you know, as a young man, and with a young family, it gave me pause. Because I thought of my wife. I've only had to call my wife a couple of times in my career, as in, okay, like it's close, you know, thank God. But those aren't comfortable, you know, again, there's no basements, you know, we're very, you know, it's nice where we are. So, you know, some crazy experiences. And I'll never forget them, you know, I'll never forget them. And they provide me, you know, ways to be empathetic. You know, empathy is really important, you know, just in everything in life, you know. And so I think about those people, you know, the good, the bad, but on television, you are, you know, you're considered a personality. And if someone comes up to you in public, if you're having a bad day, I'd stay home. Because all it takes these days, right, is someone to be a jerk, and then everyone knows. You're a nice guy, you may tell a few people, right? But I mean, you have to understand, if you are going in this business, that privacy is different. You know, your idea of privacy is different than someone who's not on television. And this is not, I mean, this is not glorifying, you know, things or whatever. I mean, but that's part of it. You know, you're looked at as a public, you know, a public figure. And so you have to, you know, enjoy also to interact with people. I mean, what does everyone talk about in the elevator, right? You know, you don't know, weather's nice, isn't it, right? You know, and everyone wants to talk about weather. I had a woman from church, Facebook message me, she's put on this big party. She's like, I know I shouldn't ask you this, you know, and I was like, you can always, you know, you can always ask. I'm always helpful, you know. But it's a great business. Where is it going? I don't know. We have media conglomerates right now that are eating up, you know. I actually work for a small company out of Chicago called Weigel. If you know digital channels, if you've ever heard of MeTV or Bounce or Decades, they own it. So Weigel sells those to all across the country. So they make their big money on the digi channels. We only have 2 local stations, one in South Bend and one in Milwaukee. I used to work for Hearst. Hearst is a wonderful company. It is a solid company out of New York. They are top notch, top down. They've got their stuff together. But right now you've got, you know, Nexstar that wants to buy Tegna. You've probably heard some of that floating around with the recent headlines, you know, going on. And so, you know, how many of you here watch local TV? Just be honest. Oh God, I'm in trouble. So, you know,
how many is it?
Yep. What was that?
I said, Drew, it's good to see you up there, man. You don't age at all. How many hands are up? I'm curious.
Oh, not enough, my man.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's a youngster, you know. Expressed me like 50 times, but he's right, Matt. I mean, I'm gonna turn it over to you. I mean, you know, you're younger in this career, and I mean, the reality is we really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I work with, and again, I'm in Las Vegas right now in the morning meteorologist. I've been in the business for 5 years. And if you hear my kids, they're kind of running around like crazy. But yeah, I work with, you know, a few older folks. I mean, the anchors on the desk are pushing, you know, 55, 60, and, you know, they've been in the business for years and years. And when I kind of hear them talk about just job security and like you mentioned, is like the conglomerate things that are happening. They're just going out and buying multiple stations in the same market. I mean, it's kind of nerve-wracking, to be honest, because you don't know if your next move is going to be the right move. You kind of have to find that top station. If there is, let's say Nexstar has 2 stations in the same market.
to have the most job security, you got to be in that top market. So it is kind of unnerving, I guess, to say. It's definitely scary during this time, but if this is a dream of yours and a goal of yours to be a broadcast meteorologist, go for it. I would not say to let that take over fear and kind of push you out. This is definitely a very rewarding business, as Drew is kind of alluding to and talking about. So, yeah, I mean, it's scary times. Everything's going digital, everything's going streaming, but I don't think it's going away forever. That's just my thought, but
I think there's always going to be, when the big weather story happens, whether it's severe weather, winter weather, listen, look at your app, that's fine, but I mean, it's changing all the time, right? It's just data. And I think there's always going to be a spot, for, local weather, I mean, it's still king. Matt and I right now are heavily relying on the baby boomers to continue their, their viewing habits, essentially. I've got a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and it's all the digital, different things from TikTok and the gram and all these things, and it's just like I'm kind of at a quandary. I mean, I'm 46, and I update the cesspool known as X, Twitter. God, it's so bad.
Brain rot nowadays. It's like brain rot nowadays.
It is.
Yes, it
And the
is.
bots have taken over. I mean, it literally wants you to fight with your neighbors right here. And seriously, Facebook and I've done the Blue Sky and Threads, but it's like, you put that stuff out there, it's part of the job. It's part of, it's part of what you do, but the bread and butter is still hoping that people are tuning in, for your shows. And you hope, like on big weather events, that people do. And you see it in severe weather, I mean, viewership always goes up. I mean, you could be a dominant #1 station, especially in a hurricane market, and blow it. And you can see people, things change. So for me, I feel, hopefully, like in Milwaukee is where I probably will stay, I hope. Matt is a young man, he's got a young family, he's been to a few spots. I mean, Matt, you tell me. I mean, I'm assuming Vegas is probably not your last stop.
Correct.
Right? I thought so, but I wasn't going to answer for the man. But Matt said it best. If this is what you want, make sure, that you also are very versatile, in other mediums. And a lot of times that first job out of college is going to probably require some sort of weather reporting. And a lot of us, I minored in journalism here, so that was one thing I buried the lead. I forgot to tell you, because I knew that there probably would be, some reporting. Most likely, it's not going to be like on the crime beat. Some people have. I mean, they'll throw them out on a a shooting or something like that. It's stupid, but you probably have to prepare to be open, to do a lot of live shots during weather, and that should come natural, but reporting might be something you have to broaden your mind and say, you know what, I'm willing to take on that, that challenge. Because there's probably a good chance, like I said, that first job might require some of that. And I would probably, if you have no reporting experience, if you didn't minor in journalism here, and if you're young and thinking about the program, I would consider maybe looking into that as a minor. For those of you that aren't interested in the TV route, I might consider a minor in business. I started my own business, again, it was through connections, it's not huge, I do it at my kitchen table, right? But, being able to talk to the customers, because ultimately someone is going to want weather information, and probably someone is going to have to communicate. And I'm not talking about 500 millibar, mean flow, okay? You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking Metcon here. We can do that privately, much like I do on, and Matt does on TV. Like, you're not going on there. Listen, Tom Skilling is Tom Skilling, right? He did that. He was the guy. But if I walked into a station today talking about 500 millibar of vorticity, you know, they're gonna say, bye. Like, what does that mean, right? I got to talk to my clients. I have to talk to my customers, which would be Joe Blow viewer. Well, you guys, if you get into some sort of business, I mean, you also have to communicate as well. So, I mean, some of you are far along as seniors. You know, we had almost the whole senior group up here. So that might not be an option, but for some of you that are newer, I would maybe consider that. I mean, you know, it may put you here a little bit longer, but you know, as meteorologists, you might have to really broaden your horizon. You know, National Weather Service right now, you know, I'm not here to talk politics, but I mean, that's just kind of right now. There's, I think, still a lot up in the air. You know, with that, broadcast is separate, and then you know, private forecasting. There's a lot of NIU nets that have gone into insurance, which is crazy. Modeling. I didn't know that until coming back and helping out. I was shocked. I was like, you know, wow. I mean, I'm very myopic in kind of my business, but you know, you might have to take your skills and be creative a little bit. It's, you know, it may not be, hey, I'm sitting down and I'm forecasting this and that. I mean, think about it. I got a couple of clients that are plow truck drivers, right? Like, I don't make a lot of money off of that, but those are folks like, they can look at a lot of different things. Like their margins are razor thin, you know, so that's a luxury. That would be a luxury for a small business owner to be able to pick up the phone to a meteorologist and be like, okay, so when do I need to start, you know, when, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, right now, you know, the economy is in a different spot, is what it is, you know? And so, I think you just have to also broaden your horizons too, and be able to think outside the box. So, questions? It's a lot of talk. Yes.
I'll go first. So I want to become a broadcast meteorologist.
Wonderful.
As well.
Good. What grade are you in?
Well,
What are you in, my friend?
I'm in second grade.
Yeah, right. My brain.
But
You got 2 years?
I'm a transfer junior.
Oh, cool.
I actually just transferred from Elgin Community College.
Welcome. Great.
But I was just asking, like, what is like a work day for you? Like, do you forecast? Do you do the forecast as well before you go on TV?
Yeah.
And
So,
what do you do to prepare before you step in front of the camera?
If I don't have a school visit, you know, I get to work about 2 o'clock. We have a news meeting at 2 o'clock. I get to go first, just update the producers, what's happening. If there's big event and I need more time, then we talk about that. And then I go to the weather office. You know, I get all my data. I write down, you know, all my stuff, forecast, start thinking of stats, build graphics. And yeah, so all of that is done prior to my 5 o'clock newscast. I have a midday meteorologist that does noon and 4.
Yeah.
I have a rule in my office where it's not Drew's forecast. It's not Rebecca's forecast. It's not Justin in the morning. We team forecast. So I have different rules, and Matt's probably gonna laugh, but
I still remember this when you told me at your station when I shadowed you, 3 degrees.
and now he's talking all this crap about it. Yeah, so yeah, so it's actually pretty simple, and it's kind of easy in a way. It allows where we don't have big swings. I mean, how many times have you looked at look at the Euro forecast, the 12Z versus the 0Z or the GFS, whatever, you know, sometimes there's big swings, you know, and you're looking 7 days out. We all know the atmosphere, you know, tends not to work that way. Well, if you put that on TV and it's going all over the place. So what we do in the office, the first 3 days, whoever is on that shift, you can change the numbers however you want. You could change it by a degree. You could change it by 10. I don't care. First 3 days, you have total control.
Yeah.
After day 3, so days 4, 5, 6, and 7, if you want to warm it or you want to cool it, you only can do it by a category or 3 degrees. So you don't do it by 1, you don't do it by 2. So for instance, let's say on day 6, we start to see some good warm air advection that's showing up, a nice southwest wind. In Milwaukee, the lake dominates everything. If you don't know the wind direction, you will get hosed. I mean, every time. Then they're done now. So, but we trend. And so, so then when the morning meteorologist comes in, well, my midday meteorologist and I forecast together.
Okay.
We team forecast. Now, some markets aren't like that. You may have Mets that, you know, are like the Farmer's Almanac that like create their own, you know, stuff. But that's not how we do it. And we Metcon, we communicate because she's got to go on with it at 4. So why would we go with a crazy forecast, a different forecast at 4 and then come out at 5? Like that's stupid, right? I mean, that's dumb. So we forecast together. I don't have a 6 o'clock newscast because we have Wheel of Fortune in Jeopardy and it beats all the other locals. So, so I go home. I live 11 minutes away.
Yeah.
I go home with my family. I'm really active in church, so I have meetings and different things. And then I usually come back around 8. I do a 9 o'clock and a 10 o'clock. If things need to be updated or severe weather, I would be there, right? But a lot of times, you know, I don't see a ton of difference from, you know, most of the time, not from the 12Z to 0Z. A lot of times, I mean, I'm very per dominant. I'm very Euro dominant, and I love the mesoscale stuff from the HER. So I tend to be very biased. I'm biased with those 2 models. So sometimes I may, you know, look at that.
Okay.
Generally, that's a day. I take a longer dinner break because I do all those school visits. I don't ask for time. I don't get paid extra. All I ask is an extra hour with my family. So, yeah. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Please take advantage of that, you know, the lab.
Yeah, I'm actually going November 11th, so I'm really excited.
Good. And by the way, we discussed this earlier. I think in the spring, I'd like to come back and work with the broadcast Mets, you know, separately. And if you're interested, one-on-one stuff, you know, good just general practices on being on the wall. You know, I used to do that with Candace King, and that changed. So I'd love to do it. Any other questions?
So things may have changed in the last like 20 or so years, but like,
Oh, really?
when you say like, what would you say is like the best way to find like a starting job directly after you graduate?
Number one, don't be afraid to spread your wings and go somewhere that's uncomfortable, okay? A lot of us maybe want to stay close to home. And so we're gonna, you know, maybe say, you know what, I'm just gonna circle the Midwest. Well, okay, maybe I could have gone to Rockford, right? But if I went to Rockford, I don't know if I would have got the same experience as covering that severe weather in Arkansas. And so, dum-dum here, you know, I had to look on the map where I was going, but all that experience, you know, that was priceless. And it gave me the opportunities, you know, down the road. Like I said, most people will go to a lot of different markets. I probably will, I'm different, you know, 2 is probably, so I would be looking at entry-level jobs, you know, with small experience. You're not going to make anything at all. I'm just going to warn you. So hopefully, you know, you're able to, you know, to make that work, but you're not there forever. You might be there for 13 years, but you know, you might, you know, you probably won't be there forever. And that's the reality. You sign a contract, you're there for probably 2 years. And then you've got the opportunity to go. And then you've got the weapon, as in you've got all the digital clips that you need, and then you can go to that next spot. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I would encourage you to go to an active weather market, you know, like I wouldn't be caught in Phoenix or San Diego. I'd be bored, man. I mean, I would be bored. Find somewhere where you can, you know, get challenged a little bit. I would encourage them. Yes.
Yeah, one of the things I kind of had a question about, so I did speech in high school a lot, and I usually had 3 habits. It was to talk too fast, or my tone, I wouldn't kind of realize that sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So what are some kind of tips you have about getting just better with public speaking in general, like noticing how you sound, not talking too fast, and most importantly, because I have a habit of this with my friends all the time. They'll ask me like, "Hey, why is it gonna thunderstorm?" And then I'll go off with something that everyone in this room would understand, but none of them would understand. So it's pretty easy.
That's a wonderful question. And when I was talking with the gang earlier, one of the things I would encourage you to do is, if you're, this is really dating me. I mean, really bad. Like record yourself. Yeah. Record yourself. Just your voice. And listen. Don't worry about mannerisms. Just listen to your voice. Listen to your pacing. A lot of times on TV, especially, for new people, it's a run-on sentence. It's just, blah, 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 you know, it's like you just vomited a forecast at me and I don't even know what you said. And taking those opportunities to pause, you know, but it takes time. But just be comfortable, start getting comfortable with your voice. You know, I hear my voice internally, you know, a certain way, but it's not like that. It's different. So number one, you got to be comfortable with your own voice. And when you're mindful of that, then you can work on it. One of the early things that I did that Charles mentored me was, he said, I don't want you to work on 10 things, because imagine going on live TV working on 10 things, you will stumble, bumble, and it won't be good. So take a Post-it note. Do 1 or 2 things and put that Post-it note there and just work on it. So maybe for you, practicing, you know, it's thinking about, what did you say your voice? You said you're angry?
My tone kind of comes off more, I wouldn't say angry, but it's more
Stern?
Yeah.
And
Instead of being casual and comfortable.
Okay, and so you're aware of that now, like that's you're self-aware. And so thinking about being warm, maybe thinking about being humble. I don't know. My wife is teaching me. So but think of warmness and talking. You know, maybe when you talk, I mean, I don't know if you have a good relationship with your family or your mom or whatever. I mean, you know, think about mom or grandma. You know, that was one thing they said, like with the camera. I'm staring at, sorry, I'm just gonna stare right at you and make you feel really uncomfortable. You know, it's just, freak, get away from me, right? So, you know, the camera is not a person, but I think it is, right? And then we're having a conversation, and we're walking and talking. We're turning to the side because we hate our profile. No, because we're trying to figure out what we're pointing at. You notice when I turned I didn't have the other monitor. And I was like, oh, I don't have a monitor there. And then I had to turn the other side when I was practicing with them. So I would just try to think about that. When it comes to, do you have ADHD by chance? I do. Okay. My man.
It's a free rec for this
45 minutes, like we're all over the
You will
place.
notice like most of us.
It's like a free rec with this room.
But guess what? Guess what? Some of the most brilliant people in the world, the greatest problem solvers in the world have. And just because, you know, we don't abide by your idea of time, you know, you know what I mean? You know, I think with ADHD, it's hard because you're excited about something and, you know, so maybe try to think, if you're explaining something about thunderstorms, give your friend maybe 1 or 2 nuggets. I only give like 3 main points on the air. Because if I give you all this stuff, in the end, you're gonna go, how do I dress tomorrow? I gave you all these stats. I don't even know what the temperature is tomorrow, right? So maybe think of those things. Challenge yourself.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I think you'll agree.
I love your hair.
What's up?
I love this hair.
Oh, thank you. I love the 70s look.
I love it, man. I love it.
I think you'll agree though, in this field, networking is probably one of the top priorities for anybody in any part of this field. So how do you, for the sake of people going into broadcast, how do you go about networking with people who are generally harder to reach than your average like research meteorologist? Just because of their public profiles and how, you know, they probably get inundated on social media. How do you network with these people and like get opportunities?
Where's Landon? Landon.
Hello.
How did you get a hold of me?
Gino Izzy at the Weather Service in Chicago.
But you messaged me through what?
Through X.
Through X. And I got pretty much right back to you, right? You know?
Yeah.
I think most broadcast meteorologists, you know, I think are you know, ones that care, guys like Matt, you know, very caring guy, Candace, you know, in Rockford. So I would say reach out to Matt. I would say reach out to Candace, reach out to me. We might know of some smaller markets that might be looking. Guys, right now, they're hard to, honestly, it's hard to find like entry-level TV people. You know, it is, so you're kind of at an advantage a little bit. Those are three right there. And then, you know what, we could say, oh, you know what, maybe try this person. Talk to some of the people that knew some people that just graduated the last couple of years. They're going to be probably in smaller, you know, markets, and they're going to be probably easier to get a hold of. But it's a great question. Yes.
So I'm sure you can agree that there's a lot of importance to collaborating across different industries in meteorology. So I'm wondering if you can speak to me about with, you know, the big question mark in both broadcast and National Weather Service, how at the interface of your guys' collaboration, how you keep those bonds and connections strong so that you can serve.
You know, twice a year, the NWS in Milwaukee and all the local TV people in Madison and Milwaukee come together. Yep, we come together. And I have a great warning coordination meteorologist, a guy by the name of Tim Hallbach. He's a wonderful resource. So if you're looking at that avenue, I would recommend reaching out to Tim as well. He's a Fond du Lac guy, great guy. He really fosters that, you know, and so there is a lot of collaboration between local offices and TV Mets because, guys, in the end, we're on the same team. We're competing in a way, but like we know they put the warning out. That's their job. But now it's us. We got to take that and we have to put it across. And they know the importance of that. So there's actually some collaboration that's going on. The NWS chat, you know, is a great example too, because during severe weather, you know, we're getting a lot of information that's going on and they're collaborating with us and emergency managers and doing that. So there's already that's happening, at least in our area, you know, twice a year that's going on. That's good. Yes.
What would you say is the most difficult aspect of your job?
The toughest part about my job is when I have no confidence in a forecast. You know, let's say a winter weather forecast. Model A says this, Model B says this, Model C says good luck, right? And I just average them together. Or I am not the one on TV that shows you three models and says, hey, look, Model A is going to do this, Model B, like, I don't have time. And guess what? It's up to me to tell you what's going to happen. So that's probably the hardest when I have zero confidence and I have to go on and act confident. It's very, very difficult. That's probably the most challenging.
You didn't use the Canadian model.
What's that?
You didn't use the Canadian model.
So I use the Canadian. It's funny. I use the Canadian when I do my long range or my long trip, my, you know, days 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my tiebreaker. Like I write down 850s for all the days. And I write down. I'm very Euro biased, but the Canadian tends to line up very well with the Euro, you know, compared to the GFS. But I use the Canadian as the tiebreaker. So if it sides with one, I may be biased that way. So yeah, it's fine. So yeah.
I was gonna ask, what is it like when there is a severe weather, like outbreak or what, like during, because I know
It's awesome.
whenever there is severe weather, there's live coverage. And that's something I kind of like, as like, that I want to become a broadcast meteorologist, just some basic knowledge of like what my job would be like when, you know, those events happen. What is it like in the newsroom?
You know what? I don't really know because you know, if we're live on the air with tornado warnings,
yeah,
how it works in my office is if I'm in as chief, then I'm on the wall.
Yeah.
I have a second Met that's usually running the webinar for me.
Okay.
And then we are going back and forth. I have an anchor in there. So I have multiple pitchable sources. So a lot of times I'm on the wall, we're covering things. I have a cart that I'll pull up that I can look at things, but then I'll see in the corner of my eye, my meteorologist will like raise his or her hand and I'll go, Rebecca, you got something. Yeah, that's right, Drew. You know, so someone like you coming in, you would be more support.
Okay.
possibly running the radar, but also monitoring social, monitoring the NWS chat. You're kind of a jack of all trades, and a very, very, very important key to that.
Okay.
Because if I don't trust that person running the radar and they're doing storm tracks and things just aren't working, like, then that is difficult too.
Yeah.
That's difficult too. So you have to be able to trust that person. So, and that's gonna take practice between you and the chief. And I mean practice, like, sometimes I would come in on weekends to work with my weekend net, just so we could, work. The great part is I can load in a radar anywhere in the country, and we could just do severe weather coverage, just practice.
Yeah.
It takes practice and time.
Yes.
So as someone who's really interested in how weather information is communicated, especially during severe weather events or hazardous weather.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, how do you communicate that information in a way that, kind of gets people to, kind of perk up and be like, oh, like something's active. It's like, should I do something about this? What should I?
Are we talking like, when it's happening, when we have warnings, or are we talking ahead of time? Warnings. So, one thing I was taught by that mentor when I was on the morning show, I like to be goofy and silly. There's part of that, there's personality, but he said, Drew, I want you to think about what you're doing, because if you're looked at as kind of a clown, how is someone going to take you serious during severe weather? Made me mad. Oh, it pissed me off. And I'm like, you're taking away my creative, blah, 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 blah. No, he was right, there's a balance. And so when severe weather happens, it's business. One of the things I'm known to do, and I learned it from that chief, is when in the middle of the afternoon, 3-4 o'clock, when kids are coming home from school, I will literally take a step to the camera and say, I want to talk to all the kids out there. You may be coming home. Mom and dad, maybe they're running some errands and you're home alone. I know this is scary. I know there's a lot going on. Take a breath, turn up the TV, get into your safe spot, right? Get to the lowest point, get to the basement, a bathroom or a closet, turn up the TV. We're streaming as well, on Facebook or whatever, and we're going to get you through it. And I tried doing that when I didn't have kids. Didn't work. Yeah. But once I had kids, it worked. There's a tone, because we get excited. We're in this because we like storms and stuff, right? And that you have to be careful, because you don't want the guy that's on there that's like, oh, look at this supercell, and oh, look at this debris ball, and it's wiping off this and that. We'll do that, right? And it's like, man, pump the brakes. The problem, what I'm running into, is you have all these YouTube stars, if you will, that like people are watching that. You can't police that. Like I'm competing, to that. The good news is when you're local, if someone is running that nationally, yeah, they can cover warnings and do all that, but they don't know that local store on the corner of this. Part of going to all the school visits when I was in Arkansas, I got to go to a lot of rural areas and I learned my area. So learning your area is super, super important. It's all about tone, and it takes time. It takes time. Balancing excitement, because you also don't want to be monotone and, we're tracking this, warning about, there has to be some energy, but it can't be over the top where people are like, this is too much.
Okay, so
Hey, Drew.
Oh, yo, yeah.
Hey, I wanted to, I just want to real quick, I'm gonna hop off.
You got dad duties? You doing
Yeah, I
math?
got dad duties. I'm hopping off, but hey, it was great to see you. It's great to see that room filled, and congratulations to all the students in there. And it looks like the program is, like you mentioned, a really good spot. So I'm gonna have to give you a call soon and update you on what's going on. But like you're telling all them, man, like you're telling them, make those connections, reach out to people. I left my email. Don't be afraid to email me, and then of course if it goes from there, I'll give you my phone number if you need any help. So
yeah, see that again. That's what this alumni, is about. It's helping. So
I wanted to
Logan's question about.
For a moment, I don't like to cut stuff quick.
Oh, yeah.
but We have about time for this one last question. I do know you've asked a few questions. If there's anybody in here that has a question that hasn't been picked on yet to ask a question, I would like to ask.
Oh,
that.
and guess what? You can always email me, and we could always set up a time to talk. So, yeah, no pressure. Last question.
Last question. Something that us students have talked about is like, and just to preface this, I do have 2 years in broadcast media.
Yeah.
I worked for WDIV for a couple of years. And one of the things I noticed with DIV and KSAT and whatnot is some of the times when storms were coming in, but they weren't here, there was just like a potential tropical depression in the Gulf coming in to hit Houston or whatnot. Sometimes like it almost felt like the newsroom manager or whatnot was like telling our Mets to doomcast, to get more
Hype it up,
get more views and things like that. How do you combat that? Because I know you guys, like you said, you're competing against YouTube, you're competing against all of this, but one of the things that we as a group have talked about is, the doomcasting is actually causing the reverse and people aren't taking our forecast seriously.
True.
So how are you combating that?
I'm fortunate. I have a news director that doesn't do that. And so I just feel like as the expert, as the meteorologist, it's kind of your job to set the tone. And that means, here's one thing you're going to learn. Producers are very myopic. Like they're all about the show and timing. If there's something that you really need extra time for, or you need to get across, it's up to you to make sure that happens. Okay. But it's also in a way, where you're clear and concise and also vulnerable to say, we don't know. It's okay to say, listen, there is a lot of uncertainty. So over the next couple of days, continue, to come back, and we are getting the latest information, and letting you know. You can tell people, that hype things up. And listen, local weather is the #1 driver of local news. So, like that's a big deal. And you may just, in a way, you might just be in a bad spot too. If you have a manager that's just sometimes, I guess you kind of have to do, within reason, but I also think it's okay to push back a little bit and just say, hey, listen, it's a lot of uncertainty, I want to go across this way, and also make sure that the toss, which is the anchor or reporter, whatever that is getting into weather, double check the toss. Because a report or an anchor may change it, or your producer may write something, you may be like, whoa, that's not what I said. Or I didn't talk about this. It happens a lot. I've been burned many times. So make sure that you have that conversation too with the producer to say, hey, I don't, that verbiage coming into me, I don't feel comfortable with that. Can we change it? Not change that. We all know, we attract more bees with honey, right? And so there's a way of doing things. But it's okay to be firm. I don't know if that totally answers your question.
I think like you said, it just depends on the producer and director
and but it is okay for you to voice your concerns. You are the expert. You are the expert. So, well, listen, I appreciate you all staying up and not falling asleep. I hope I gave you some nuggets, and again, if you are if you have some further questions, or you want to come up and see a station tour, come watch the 5 o'clock news anytime, man. I'd love to have you up.
Did you say station tour?
Sure.
Don't think we could have fell asleep if we tried.
All right.
Thank you, Drew. That was great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Do you want to write your email on the board?
Yeah. All right.
And real quick, for the people who go up, like, Andy attended
Yes,
to our
yes,
program
thank
up
you.
there.
I can
be greatly
drive myself my car's
Also, I do have Matt's email written on the board over here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're good. I'll try to be there.
Yeah.
I'll confirm. Thank you.
It's intimidating.